All right, welcome everybody. This is Professor Nerdy, the ExPhysGuy here. I know I've been away for a few weeks. I haven't gotten any new material up. I was actually waiting for a new camera setup to come in. So now that we have that, let me get the full board here. Okay, there's our full board. So I'm going to do a little mini series about a topic that's near and dear to me, and it became even more apparent to me after I started teaching at the college level, that just how much young students and even myself, when I was going through my doctorate degree, that how many questions students had about what the letters mean and what do you get your degree in, and what does that mean if you have a certain degree within a field, which one should I get? Are they all the same or are they different? So I'm gonna do probably maybe 2 or 3 videos that I think it will help answer a lot of those questions. And the first thing that I want to go over is just the different types of academic degrees that you can get. Now, this list that I have up on the board, those of you who watch my videos know I like to do the whiteboard. I don't like to do PowerPoints or anything like that. The ones that I have up on the board are not all inclusive. These are just a few really that I picked. And there's one major category that's missing that I'll explain in a minute. But basically, what we're seeing here are degrees that you would get once you've completed school. If we look all the way in the left, we see the undergraduate column. So this is a typical 4-year institution. It could be private, it could be, it could be state. It doesn't really matter. And what I've done is I've picked probably the 3 major bachelor's degrees. That's typically what you'd get when you graduate a 4-year institution, is you would get a bachelor's, and you would get a bachelor's in probably either, or I should say a bachelor's of either science, art, or fine art. So the BS, that stands for Bachelors of Science. So when you're reading the degree after somebody's name, you see BS. Okay, it means they have a Bachelor of Science. But what field is their degree in? So BS does not stand for Bachelor in Science. It stands for Bachelors of Science, and I'll explain that in just a second. If somebody has a Bachelor's of Science, they might have it in any one of maybe 20 or more fields that have to do with science, health, things in that nature. And you can see a few of the categories that I threw up there: biology, engineering, business, math, physics, nursing, chemistry. These are just a few, but these are programs or majors, if you will, that you would typically get a Bachelor's of Science in. All right, and the BA, that stands for Bachelor's of Arts. Now, it's not a bachelor in arts. So your degree is not actually an art degree. Just like the BS, Bachelor of Science. It doesn't necessarily mean it's a science degree. It could be in math. It could be in business. Your Bachelor of Arts, look at some of the subcategories that I have, or majors, if you will. You could have a Bachelor of Arts in Education. You could have it in philosophy or English or languages. So what this is basically what I'm trying to show here is that these are just a few of the areas where you might, if you're going for a Bachelor of Art, or let's say you want to get an undergraduate degree in education, you might come out with a Bachelor's of Arts in Education. A lot of it depends on what your university and the curriculum, but typically it would be probably a Bachelor of Art. And the last major one, let me see if I can get it a little bit more better in the frame here. More better, yes, more better. That's to use the parlance of our time. More more better. I'll do this and then I'll do a little zoom out here. The last major one is the Bachelor of Fine Arts, or the BFA. And a Bachelor of Fine Art you probably will get if you're looking at fields such as music, theater, or film. All right, so let's recap undergraduate degrees. They're typically 4 years. There's 3 major ones, but there could be others. You'll have some kind of bachelor's degree. Now, just because you have a bachelor's of science, that does not mean bachelor's in science. You would explain to somebody, oh, I have a bachelor of science in chemistry. Or really, you could really kind of skip and just say, I have a bachelor's in chemistry. Okay. For some employers, it might make a difference if it's a BS versus a BA. Okay. For others, it will not. For certain graduate programs, it might make a difference if you have a BS versus a BA. What determines that is really how close the degree is that you already have to the field that you're going into. So if you have a bachelor's of fine art in music, okay, and you want to go for a master's of science in chemistry, it's going to be a little bit of a longer road. All right, so that's kind of the best, most straightforward version I can give of that. Once you have done an undergraduate degree, you could go to a graduate or postgraduate degree. And again, this list typically, after you've gotten a master's, everyone's heard that I have a master's degree. Okay. That's a master's program is any program that's after a bachelor's. Okay, if you already have a bachelor's and you're going for more school, you're going for a master's. Now, again, the list I have up here, not all inclusive by any means. Typically, master's degrees, the further you go in school, the more specific and more focused the degree becomes. So something like an MA, Master's of Arts, Masters of Science, which you could see abbreviated as M.S. or M.Sc, Masters of Science. Again, there shouldn't really be a huge amount of difference there. When we get to terminal degrees, I'll talk about that with one of the other ones and why there are some differences in why it's M.S. or M.Sci. There are some specifics in there that I will hit on. The M.Ed, that's another popular one that you might see, Masters of Education. It's not a Master's in Education. It's a Master's of Education. And then the MBA, Master of Business Administration. That one is very specific. That one is tailored to business. And then Masters of Social Work, which is MSW, MFA, Masters of Fine Art, so on and so forth. LLM has to do with law, and then Masters of English, right? And then you could have a Master's of English in, literature, or it could be very specific, all right? Master's degrees, typically 2 years, can go 3. Here's one difference. When I was getting my master's degree, I got it in health promotion and disease prevention, and we could do one of two things. We could either graduate with a master's of science in health promotion, or we could graduate with a master's of education. Now, there was a big difference. The students who graduated with a master's of science degree in M.S., they had to complete a thesis, whereas the individuals that did a master's of education only had to do, I say only, had to do what was called a quote-unquote independent study or final project. So the master's of science was more research and science-based, and the master's of education was a little bit more clinical-based, teaching-based, even though it was the same program, same degree. Slightly different classes, slightly different final project. That's really That's really all I can say about masters. There's lots of master's degrees that are out there. Some of them are even one-year programs now, which is kind of nice. Many of them are online now. And of course, if anyone has any questions, you can always leave a comment down below. Lastly, but not least, a terminal degree. A terminal degree is the highest degree you can get in the field. Now, typically that's some sort of a doctorate, but it doesn't have to be. Some fields don't have doctorate degrees. So there are cases where a master's degree could be a terminal degree in your field. If your field does have a doctorate, this is what this column all the way to the right would apply to those. So terminal degrees, typically I like to tell people, or young students, think of it in two different ways really. A research or academic based and focused degree, or a professional degree. And again, these are not exhaustive at all. There are many different degrees. But let's break down research degrees. PhDs, which PhD stands for Doctorate of Philosophy. It's not a doctorate in philosophy, but you would say, I have a doctorate of philosophy in, and then whatever it might be, chemistry, myself, health and human performance, many different PhDs. You can have an EdD, which is a doctorate of education. Again, they are different. Yes, they are both doctorates. They are both terminal. The structure of the curriculum might have been slightly different, and that's why the program or the university offered an EdD versus a PhD. When I entered into my program for my doctorate, I believe, if I remember correctly, we did have the option of either a PhD or an EdD. I chose the PhD option because that was going to be more relevant to my future career. But a couple others, DFA is Doctor of Fine Arts. DPE is a Doctorate of Physical Education. And then Dr.P.H, Doctor of Public Health. So there are many different routes to go with it. Typically one of those, you'll probably be in research or academia, teaching, things like that. For a professional terminal degree, which by the way, any kind of degree that is up on the board that I have listed under terminal, if somebody has one of those degrees, they should be addressed as doctor. Whether it's a research degree or a professional one, if they have PhD listed after their name, or DPE, or Doctor of Health Science, which is on the professional, they should be addressed as doctor in informal settings. Professional terminal degrees, such as MD, medical doctor or doctor of medicine, DO, which is a doctor of osteopathic medicine. These degrees, and they go on and on, typically more geared towards an actual practice. So law, medicine, health sciences, chiropractic medicine. DC is Doctor of Chiropractic. DVM is a vet, Doctor of Veterinary Medicine. DNP, Doctor of Nursing Practice. And DPT, Doctor of Physical Therapy. Now, you'll see where it says MD-DO and DMD-DDS. DMD and DDS are dental degrees. So these are, all of these programs, by the way, terminal degrees, typically minimum 4 years after a master's, typically. Unless you're doing a combined master's and terminal degree program. Doctor of Physical Therapy, a lot of those programs are like that. It's a what's called a master's en route, so you'll get two. But anyway, MD and DO, yes, they're both medical doctors. They both should get licensed to practice. But again, the curriculums were slightly different. Okay, MDs are more based in medicine. DOs are more based in homeopathic or osteopathic. The DMD and the DDS, when my two brothers were going through, they both were getting DMDs, my father's DDS, and they're saying, oh geez, I'm worried. And the American Dental Association says these are exactly the same degree. DMD stands for Doctor of Dental Medicine. DMD or DDS stands for Doctor of Dental Surgery. Whichever one you get, same rights and privileges. Some programs, they do things a little differently. Doctorate of Philosophy, PhD in EDD. In America, roughly, even if I came out with a doctorate of education, I should basically be treated with the same level of competence and achievement as a PhD. So to summarize, we have bachelor's degrees, we have master's degrees, we have doctorate degrees. Okay, your bachelor's, the letters after somebody's name, PhD, Doctorate of Philosophy. That does not mean their degree is in philosophy. It means that was the type that they achieved through the curriculum and the final project that they had to do. In other videos, we'll break down, okay, what does it mean someone has a PhD? What can their field be in? All right, so I hope this video was helpful. I'll do a couple others. Please feel free to leave a comment. I know I was a little long-winded. I will try not to be as long-winded on the next one. All right,